Good afternoon, everybody. We're so glad you could be with us here today. We are going to talk about all you need to know about Microsoft Copilot. I'm Katie Erickson, and I'm the Marketing Director at Boyer & Associates. I have just a couple really quick housekeeping tips for you before we get on. You are on mute, as you're probably used to with most webinars. So if you have any questions, you can go ahead and use that Q&A chat up near the top. And then we've got just a couple spots throughout the webinar where we'll try to get to any questions that you have in that section. We are on Microsoft Teams as well. So if you see a feature or hear something Matt says that you really like, go ahead and interact, put a thumbs up, a heart, whatever, let them know that, hey, that's cool, I like it, it's fun. And yes, our webinar is going to be recorded today, so you're going to get a copy of that as well. Usually you get that copy via email later in the day, so you should get that very shortly. And with that, that's all my announcements. I am going to hand it on over to Matt Fleming. He is our VP of IT. He has an awesome presentation plan for you guys. It's all yours, Matt.
Thank you, Katie. And as you said, welcome everybody, and appreciate you spending some time to learn a little bit more about Copilot and GPTs today. My name is Matt Fleming. I'm the Vice President of Technology here at Boyer & Associates. And I've been implementing Dynamics CRM and Power Platform solutions and integrations in the Microsoft Partner Channel for about 12 years now. So let's go ahead and get started here and cover what we're going to look at today. First, we're going to see how we got here, some of the history of AI and its applications. Then we're going to set some expectations on how you should be working with tools like OpenAI's ChatGPT or Microsoft's Copilot, those types of things. We're going to dive in and do some live demoing of both the Copilot and Copilot for M365 products. And then finally, we're going to see how Microsoft is exploring and incorporating Copilots into Dynamics 365 sales, service, customer insights, journeys, and Business Central. In recent conversations, this is really exciting. I've had with some Microsoft employees. Copilot is at the top of all of the product teams list and really a priority for every single team to get Copilots into all of the Microsoft business applications. So excited to start to show you a little bit on that. I'm gonna go ahead and shut my camera off here and then we can dive in. So let's talk a little bit about a brief history of AI. So AI is actually started way back in 1950 when Alan Turing proposed the Turing test. Basically what this was is he came and said, what if machines could mimic human intelligence? And that kind of set the stage for the research of AI. In 1956, the term artificial intelligence was officially coined at the Dartmouth Conference, and a fellow by the name of John McCarthy led the establishment of AI as a research discipline. In the 60s, that's when the first real big heavy investment in AI research came. There was a program or an application called ELIZA developed by a man by the name of Joseph Weizenbaum, and that really started to generate early natural language processing behaviors inside of computers. Some things happened, and then we kind of fast forward into the 80s. Things really kind of put a fast forward on here. There's a resurgence of AI, particularly through advances in neural networks or trying to model computers similarly to how the human brain works. And that's really what sets the stage for all the modern AI developments that we're seeing today. The 90s were particularly important due to the fact of the internet kind of becoming so ubiquitous everywhere. Now, all of a sudden, there's unprecedented access to data, and that really allowed the field of machine learning to really be researched and applications to be developed for that. In the 2000s, you start to see some of those machine learning and big data things, computational power, come up to speed and kind of catch up to the availability of the data. And then in the 2010s, AI starts really integrating to everyday life. So significant achievements of this era are things like IBM's Watson winning on Jeopardy in 2011, and then AlphaGo winning an ancient game, beating a human for the first time in 2016. Fast forward a little bit more into the 2020s, and that's when we have the emergence of those GPT models, and AI starts to outperform humans in complex tasks that it's been trained to do. So that's how we get to where we are today. Some specific things from the last few years here. In 2022, OpenAI introduces ChatGPT. That was, I think, the fastest application ever to get 100 million active users on it. And then in 2023, Microsoft announces its OpenAI partnership and introduces Microsoft Copilots. The reason I kind of wanted to give you some of that flavor here is because AI today is all around us. It's not anything new. And here's some examples of things where you see AI today. So things like autocomplete as you're typing in Word or in an email, something like that. Home assistants, your Siri, your Alexa, your Google Home. That's all AI backed stuff where it's reading the voice and translating that to text and figuring out what to do with it. Your email spam filters help to keep you more secure at work by, identifying things that are harmful or malicious. We've all used the navigation app before. You've seen facial recognitions in things like Google Photo Album, those types of things. And I'm proud to say I just drove a Tesla with autopilot over the weekend, and AI is coming along swimmingly there, I would say. Didn't get into any accidents, and so we're starting to see it more and more in autonomous vehicles today. The thing is, these GPTs are fairly new. So GPTs are the things that Copilot, is essentially what Copilot is. So with it being so new, let's set some expectations. Don't get discouraged when things don't work as you thought that they would. This is a product that's definitely always improving with Copilot, especially. I think I mentioned the anecdote earlier. Microsoft is heavily investing in these tools, both inside the Dynamics suite and across the M365 platform as a whole. Expect to be surprised both positively and negatively. So sometimes you're going to type something into one of these chat bots and you're going to, first shot, it's going to give you exactly what you were expecting. Other times you might try to fight with it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, trying to reprompt and get it to do something better for you. And it's just not going to work. So just expect that surprise. Treat this thing AI tools are not going to solve all of our problems. That's very important to know. So don't get lazy. It's not going to solve all your problems. It's not going to do all your work for you, but it can help in lots of different ways. We're going to see that shortly with some of the demos. It does need supervision, and you should always check the answers that a GPT is going to provide to you to make sure that they're accurate and make sense. One of the big questions here is, will AI take my job? And the true answer to that is most likely not, at least not anytime soon. As you can see on the right side of the slide here, this is a slide from Gartner about the hype cycle. And let me see if I can get my laser pointer working right. So right up there at the top, you can see generative AI. That's in the area of peak of inflated expectations. So that is kind of this whole hype and hysteria around, will this thing take my job? The bottom here says this 5 to 10 years by that dark blue dot means that until we get into this plateau of productivity where GPTs are really effective and working, with us, alongside of us, and integrated into our daily lives, it's not expected for that to truly happen for the next 5 to 10 years. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Actually, one other thing that I wanted to point out on that piece too. Microsoft is very much on the train, and I think Copilot was a brilliant naming convention here for the GPTs that they're doing, because they really truly do try to view this as something that's going to augment our jobs. And my personal theory on this is that once this is fully integrated across, the productivity suite, this is going to enable us to focus our energies on our most high value tasks, and also building relationships and the human connections that we need to actually accomplish a lot of the initiatives that we're trying to perform at work. Few other things that you should know about chatbots. On the hallucination and trustworthiness side of things, generative AI tools make original content. It's their job to make new things. And sometimes those things they make are completely wrong. The reason behind this is there is a ton of computation, and then there's a combination of that computation with randomness. And sometimes those responses are incorrect, and we call those hallucinations. The randomness also makes it very hard to produce the same exact answer twice. it may be just as incorrect or as correct as the previous answer with the same prompt, but you'll still likely see different wording around an answer that a chatbot would give you. Some anecdotal stories around some of these hallucinations. Google, it's reported that Bard suggested to add glue to the cheese on your pizza to make it more gooey. And we've also seen things like people trying to use this with legal briefs and having citations made up. And obviously, as we all know, judges would not like something like that. We want to treat this thing like a very knowledgeable intern. I'm not trying to rag on interns here, but what I'm trying to say here is that in general, an intern is less experienced than a full-time employee who has been with your company for a long time. They're also still learning new things. And we all love interns, but you definitely would not review a presentation or put a presentation in front of your boss or someone on your executive team without reviewing that presentation that the intern has prepared. Be careful what you input to chatbots as well. So most models that you use, those chat sessions, when you're typing in, it's taking that data and storing it. That data could expose PII or trade secrets inadvertently and could be used to train additional models in the future. This is where Microsoft has a really good differentiator here with the M365 Copilot product. They're going to take steps to separate anything that's corporate data or personally identifiable information from the prompts that it actually sends out to the large language model. So, and one more thing, don't try to pass AI chatbot stuff off as your own. Review it, edit it, cite that you're using AI where it's needed. Microsoft and other large web presences are even starting to attribute work to AI and say basically, this content was generated by AI and a human has reviewed it for accuracy. Okay, so our next slide here, what this highlights is kind of the different areas within Microsoft 365 that copilots are showing up today. The most important thing to note here is the concept of grounding. Every prompt that you make to a copilot goes through a process of you sending that prompt in. When the prompt is sent in, it's actually sent to a grounding area where additional context from the organization or from the internet, those types of things might be added to the prompt before it's actually sent to generate a response. Then that response is generated and again sent back to that grounding area so that it can be enriched again with that contextual data. Finally, that response is returned back to the user. Why this is important is that everything, all of your responses that you're getting back have better context with this grounding in place. Grounding through Microsoft Graph is all over the place. You can kind of see up across the top of the slide here, the different areas where this appears, but these are also different areas where your prompts are going to be grabbing context from. So you'll get to see that shortly. As you see underneath here, there's some additional information on the slide here. We're going to see more on that app integration piece shortly. Again, I wanted to highlight here this enterprise grade data protection area. So no data that is exiting your organization when you're using the Microsoft Copilot for M365. And it's also not going to be training data models for anyone else. Then there's a concept of customization around these models. So there's a lot of options that exist today that allow us to build new copilots for integrations with things like websites or to extend existing copilot functionality. And Microsoft continues to heavily invest in that area as well. All right, I'm going to shut my pointer off again here and let's go ahead and hop into a demo of M365 Copilot. So for brevity here, to make things easier, hold on just a second. I have stored my prompts off so I can just copy and paste into the window here. So one thing to remember before we get started here, all of these demos are live. I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm trusting and praying to the demo gods that we're going to get some great responses here. But bear with us because, again, we're using a GPT that generates different responses every single time. So my first response, or my first prompt here, I'll go ahead and zoom in a little bit there. is going to be asking the Copilot to review a particular meeting that I was in yesterday. I'm also going to ask it for privacy purposes to leave out last names of anyone that was in that meeting, and then also bullet the response so that I can easily read it. So here we go. It's combed through everything. And what you're going to notice here in this response is that I've got this little citation piece here. So the great thing about this is it's giving me the context. It says, we organized this meeting to bring Beth up to speed, and Sue, Layla, and Beth were asked to schedule some additional working time if they need to. We're going to meet with Jeff on Friday morning to present the plan and our current progress towards that plan. And then Jeff said he was concerned about some current backlog issues that we're having. So that citation there, I can then go ahead and click on. I'm not going to do that right now because I don't want to show any of our customer data here, but it'll actually prompt and pop open a new browser tab here with that email in it so I can catch myself up to speed or drill in a little bit further. So now that you've seen a prompt for the first time, I wanted to just kind of highlight the fact that good prompts equal better responses. So you can see the use case that we just covered, but then I wanted to just kind of highlight here the different pieces. So you can see the first thing that I tell the GPT here is the goal. So what do I want from Copilot? I want you to recap a meeting for me. Then I give it some context. I say, why do you need that and who's involved with it? So I'm telling it which area to actually go to. Sorry, that should be source there. I'm sorry. So that kind of helps that grounding piece go ahead and find meetings or emails that might be related to this. From there, I give it context. So I'm telling it why I want this done so I can follow up with the customer. And then the last thing is I set expectations with the tool. So I say, don't use last names and recap this with bullets. So that's kind of the 4 key components to each prompt that you do. If you can write prompts in this way, you're going to have a lot better responses and likely have less kind of back and forth with the Copilot as you're getting to the information that you need. Okay, while we're on prompts for a second, I wanted to also kind of demonstrate that context matters. So if you can kind of see here, my prompt on the left is just saying, I'm a second grade student. I have to write a book report right now, and I need to understand the theory of relativity. I know probably not a lot of second graders learning the theory of relativity, but I think it's a good example here. You can kind of see an abbreviated response, 2 main points, 3, 4, 5 bullets. But then if I say that same thing and I tell the chatbot that, hey, I'm a physicist and I need to brush up on this, you can see I still get those 2 main bullet points that are important, but I've got much more detailed information. And I'm now starting to see things like E equals mc squared, where E is energy, mass is m, and c is the speed of light. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into a few more demos. We're going to be using some sample files today that are provided in some of the Microsoft Learn content around Copilots. So my first prompt, give me just a moment. I've got to hop over and grab those, is going to be this. Okay, so we're going to head back into Copilot. I'm going to drop a response in here, and I'm actually going to fix this. So this is actually referencing a document. In Copilot here, I can hit /, and then I can start to type in Contoso. And I want to look at this chai tea market trends. So review this document and point out any anomalies. We'll give it a minute. Okay. So what's happening here is this comb through this Word document. I actually meant to use an Excel document, but it was generated from the Excel document that I had here. So it should still play through with the story, but you can see here we had a negative sales figure of 46 units in March. Online searches went super low in May. And then we had some really good social media engagement that caused a discrepancy between September and October. So with all that being said, I want to learn a little bit more information about that. I'm going to go ahead and actually hop over into Excel, and I'll load up our Copilot here as well. one of the things to remember about Excel is there's two primary functionalities um, that can happen here. And we're going to see, first of all, things that the way that a Copilot can interact with a table. So my first prompt here is give me a chart showing the total artisanal and pre-made chai mixes, the sales of those things by month. So we'll give it a moment here. It's going through and reading our data right now and trying to figure out how to pivot that data. And the outcome here should be a chart that we can then go ahead and within a click of a button. Yep, there we go. So not only does it actually give me the chart, let's go ahead and zoom in a bit. You'll see here's our chart definition. And then actually afterwards, they've also added the explanation of what happened. So the chatbot here is telling me I created a line chart showing total chai sales, artisanal sales, and pre-made sales by year and month. And then I can just, with the click of a button, pop that in. It's going to create a new spreadsheet for me and drop that chart in there. The other big thing that you can do within Excel with the product is actually ask it to help you out with the tabular data that you have here. That's another important call out. When you're working within Excel, anytime that you want to ask Copilot questions, the stuff you want to ask questions about actually needs to be in a table. Okay. So what we're going to do here is actually, I'm not great with Excel. I never have been. So I actually love this product. This is probably one of my favorite uses. I need to figure out how to add a column to the table that shows pre-made the variance in pre-made from the previous month here. So I'm just going to go ahead and send that off. And we'll see what happens here. And if everything works out correctly, it's going to come back. It's going to show me an Excel formula and give me that same single click experience where I can drop that in. It'll automatically add it. And then you can see here again, pre-made variance. It's going to calculate the variance in these things from the current month's pre-made chai sales. If there's no previous month, the cell is left blank. So essentially what it's done here is explain this whole formula to me. And again, at that click of a button, I can click and now I see my pre-made variance column. First month is empty like it said it was going to be. And now it's showing me the trends on that. So I've got all this documentation. We've got some Word documents behind some of these market trends and recaps. We've got the data behind it as well. Now I want to go over to PowerPoint and actually show how things can be used within PowerPoint as well. So let me go ahead and find my blank presentation, and I'm going to pull up Copilot here. And I'm just going to tell it again to create a presentation about market, trend report protein shake. Okay, so let's go ahead, give this a shot and see what we come up with. Okay, so it's reading the file, it's coming up with the presentation. And as it's doing that presentation, it's going to tell us, here's the outline of what I'm going to do. And then it's actually going to put up the slides. So we can kind of focus on that and say, okay, yep, I think this looks pretty good so far. I like the slides that it's chosen. And now we've just got to wait a moment for the slides to generate. Look at that. It just added speaker notes for me as well. So let's come in and see how it did. I want to go to here as well. Yeah, so I don't know if you noticed that, but when it generated, it actually even added animations in for me. Again, one of those things where I like PowerPoint. I'm not that great with it, and I might focus on a lot different biz apps than kind of the Office suite here. So I'm already looking better than I normally would just by, these quick, simple prompts. And then I don't know if you caught it, but like I said, it also is going to include some of those speaker notes for us as well. So you can see those notes change here and there. There's a lot of other fun, different things that we can do here. So let's say for this one, I actually want to make this slide. Oops. Make this slide more dynamic. And we'll give it a few seconds to think about it. If this goes right, we've now got animations included in the slide. Another fun thing that you can do here is, let's say we don't like the picture of this woman holding a cup. So I'm going to say, add a picture of a bear to this slide. I'm not really sure how a bear is necessarily related to chai, but kind of a fun thing to do. And you can kind of see what happens there. So just a few clicks of a button. And again, this kind of ties back, if you really think about it, to that theme. So many of us kind of suffer from writing block, right? Where you just are looking at the blank PowerPoint presentation. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do here? Within a few quick minutes, you can see we've got a presentation here now. And now I can go through and look at things, focus on the higher level tasks of getting the order of the slides correct, and then kind of tweaking things, focusing on those images to make sure that they're the right things to be at the right spots in the slides, and those types of things. The next place I want to focus on is Word. So we'll go ahead and hop over into just a blank document. And I'm going to use Copilot here inside of the actual application. Let me go ahead and copy this again. And we're going to use one of our documents that we actually have that's a template. So let's do Foundation Plus. So template. So in this type of a scenario, I'm a salesperson. We've got a template document out here, and I need this thing to just kind of whip something up for me. So we are making something for Contoso Inc. They want to use Power Pages, or they currently use Power Pages in sales. They're looking to add additional functionality to Power Pages so customers can review their past orders. And I'm also going to tell it monthly fees for this thing, because this Foundation Plus is a monthly recurring program with us, $1,500 a month, and an initiation fee of $1,000. So let's see how it does. Basically, what's going to happen here, it's going to go look at that document in template form, and the model itself is intelligent enough to figure out that it wants us to try to mimic that. So here we go. See things generate right on the fly. And I can tell you, just by looking at it, that it's actually highlighting everything here. As I mentioned before, these are all, products that are heavily being invested in. When we tried this out, I think the first time I tried it was soon after Copilot became generally available. The only thing that happened with this is you just got everything in just kind of one text. Now, this does not look as good as our normal document does. We've got all these nice headings that we use and those types of things. So the formatting is a little bit better. Some other things that I can tell you it's missing right now is this piece, the title of the document, and then, who it's prepared by and for. All of those things are on a separate page. So it's not 100% here, but you can quickly see that it's actually pulling things together and using our templated language to get everything out there. And it's also made some additional contextual additions, kind of reaching out, maybe searching the web or the LLM for what Power Pages is, what sales is, those types of things. So you can see here, without me telling it anything of the requirements really, other than want to add orders, it's went on and said, okay, I need to bullet out Power Pages, authentication and authorization for the customer portal. Maybe this is wrong, right? Because it said that they were an existing customer, so they most likely already have that set up. But we do need to have a custom page that displays our order history and details on that order, so on and so forth. Let's go ahead and check the bottom, see if it got the most important part right. How did we do on the fees? Okay. Investment. The statement of work is fixed fee. Client will be invoiced $1,500 at the start of each month and an additional upfront fee of $1,000. So it nailed everything there. what else is nice to see here? You've got that kind of generation process. I'm going to go ahead and keep that. But then there's also some other things that you can do here. So if I highlight anything in the document, let's go up here and say I want to rewrite this. So when I highlight anything here, you're going to see the Copilot icon click to the side. And I'm going to say I want to rewrite this thing with Copilot. And it's going to go ahead, send off the text and try to rewrite it. And you can see it's giving me a preview of that information. I've also got a second option so I can look at this and then figure out which one I like better, or maybe I don't like any of them. So there's a lot of different actions I can take here. I can regenerate if I am like want something in the same exact style. I can regenerate it because I don't like the words here and give it another shot. I can replace my highlighted text if I want to just replace it all up. Or let's say, maybe the first sentence I really like up here and I like the second sentence down there, I can insert it below so I can cut and paste and merge those paragraphs together. The other cool thing that you can do here is change the tone on this. So I can take it from neutral, which is its kind of default, and I can say, let's get imaginative and regenerate. And you'll kind of notice that that tone goes to something that's a little more playful. Together, the client and a skilled boy or expert will team up to work on immediate, intermediate, and future goals for clients' Power Pages and D365 solution. So on top of that, I can also fly out. Oh, I'm losing my, there we go. Mouse was lost for a moment. I can also fly out that same Copilot icon up top there and ask some questions. So I can come in here and say, what is the investment for this statement of work? It'll parse the document and tell me maybe. According to the document, the investment for the statement of work is fixed fee. Client will be invoiced $1,500 at the start of each month and an additional upfront fee of $1,000. Notice here that there is a lot going on, and it actually even bolded out the numbers for me to help draw my attention to the piece that it thinks I want to know about, but it also still provided additional context around that same thing. I can ask it other questions that aren't as concrete as that. What are the client's goals? According to the document, the goals are so on and so forth. And you can even ask things like, can you help me insert a table with 2 columns? See what it does here. This is actually going to highlight some different functionality where there's nothing built in for it to know how to do something like this. So it's actually going to go and figure out based on the documentation around Microsoft Word how to do it. So you can see over there on the right now, here's what we do. Open the Word document, click on the Insert Tab button, tables, group, so on and so forth. So it's now explained to me the directions that I have to take, keeping me inside the application rather than having to go out to Google or Bing and search to find my answer in some Microsoft support article. I have it directly here within the application. The other thing that it can do, if you notice here when I clicked, we had this rewrite with Copilot and then visualize as a table. So let's say I've got this bulleted list here. I want to see that as a table. It should be able to take this and spit it back out and reformat everything. I don't know about you, but feels like reformatting stuff inside of Word, especially when you want to use tables, is a pretty painful process. So couple clicks of the button. It didn't do a great job here. We only have 2 different things here. I probably would like to see this maybe in more depth, maybe broken down a little bit farther, but at least you can kind of see that functionality where it was able to take that, look at it, figure out how to put it into a table. Now I can act on this and add my other columns and chop stuff up as I need to there. So, okay, let's head back to the slide deck and cover a couple of things here. in some other areas of the suite. So we're out of kind of the office productivity suite, what it was traditionally called, and now like let's look at what can happen in teams. So we can help teams run effective meetings, get up to speed, and find discussion points, summarize actions, all that good stuff. So summarize what I've missed in this meeting, great prompt, create a table of pros and cons on whatever topic from a meeting, those types of things. One big call out here at the bottom of the slide, you have to have meeting recording or transcription enabled on the meeting in order for Copilot to work. So it doesn't, Microsoft is not, shadow recording or shadow transcribing any of your meetings for work for use with Copilot. Those have to be manually acted upon. And then down here on the right side of the screen towards the bottom there, you'll see I threw out a different prompt here in a meeting. We were on a sales call last week, and I said, what's the overall sentiment of the call? Call is positive and collaborative. Participants discuss various topics, so on and so forth. Clarified questions and some challenges and suggestions for improvement. And so you can kind of see there's another unique way to use that. And then you can also use things in Outlook as well here. So there's a couple of different key functionalities. I'm going to switch back over to Outlook and show you the first one here. So I'm going to do this coaching by Copilot. So basically what this will do is anytime you have more than 100 characters in an email, you can use coaching with Copilot. It's going to look at the email, and then it's going to come back and say, here's some ways that you could talk things through a little bit better. Taking a little longer than normal. And then there's some rumors that I have heard around of additional third Copilot feature here. They're calling it Write Like Me or something similar, where it'll look at all of your past emails and write an email about, or, write an email with your voice in it. And there was some testing, I think, done with that functionality where it sounds like people actually like when Copilot tries to write like you rather than having you type out an email. They tend to prefer the Copilot generated versions. So you can see here that I said, thanks for putting something on the calendar, provided an update. And here's where it's giving me some coaching. So reader sentiment. So I could engage the reader additionally. And it gives me some lines that I might want to do. How are you doing with your part of the report? Those types of things. It's identified maybe some areas where I could use some additional clarity. And then it's telling me, hey, you could try to be more assertive here by saying, I haven't made progress on the report lately, rather than whatever I might have said. So that's cool. Let's go ahead, throw this away, and then let's look at drafting with Copilot. We don't want my signature in there. So let's go ahead. Like I said, I'm the VP of technology here. So one of the fun parts of my job is to follow up with everybody about their cybersecurity training. Exciting stuff. So we'll write a prompt saying, write an email to ask managers to follow up with their direct reports to complete the cybersecurity training that's due on 6/15. Okay, you can go ahead and see here. Hope this email finds you well. Writing to remind everyone, here's this, that, and the other thing. Follow up with your direct reports. Thanks for your attention to this matter. I appreciate your efforts in ensuring the company remains secure. So I can, again, change this. That's long, and people hate getting this email from me, so let's make it shorter. Okay, I could keep this, but then just for fun, again, I have that same access to the retry button. I could type in a change to say, oh, I forgot about this other thing. Maybe they need to sign off on the employees should also be reminded to sign off on the handbook and the HR portal. See how it does. This was not part of the script, so there we go. So we've got the same thing here. Additionally, please make sure that you and your direct reports have signed off on the handbook and the HR portal, so on and so forth. Now, just for fun, let's make it a poem. So we can be playful here, right? We can make things shorter, longer. We can change tones, and if we want to, we can make it a poem. Dear Colleen, a poem I send to remind you of a looming end. There we go. Quite the long poem, but you can see it works. Okay. I'll go ahead and pause there for a second, Katie. I don't know if there's any questions about Copilot and M365. If no, I will go ahead and we'll talk about some of the Copilots and how they can be used inside of Dynamics.
I don't see any questions yet. I think you're okay to keep going.
Perfect.
If you do have questions, just a reminder, go ahead and put those in the Q&A section.
Okay. So we'll cover each of the products on a different slide. I don't have anything interactive demo-wise here, so you're going to see just a lot of screenshots by each other here. There's kind of two prongs to Copilots. And this is one thing where, like I said earlier, I think Copilot's kind of an ingenious thing. Hey, you got someone there alongside you to help you to get the things you need done. But it kind of, it's Copilot everywhere. So I hope they kind of can figure out a little bit more concise messaging around that sometime in the future. But right now we have what you see on our screen, Dynamics Copilot in sales on the left side and for sales on the right side. So Copilot in sales is that same chat experience that you just saw across the rest of the Office suite, natively integrated into Dynamics 365. So the cool thing about that, let me see if I can zoom in here. Let's see. Try to make that bigger. Okay. So the cool thing about that, like I said, you can see on the side, it's kind of that same info window, but thinking back to the grounding thing, when we're on a particular record inside of the system, in this case, I'm in a sales system looking at an opportunity record. It's going to take into the grounding. It's also going to grab everything about that opportunity there and all the related records to that and formulate its response based on those things. That also works. Let's say I was just looking at a list of opportunities off to the side there. It'll also work with that same thing. So what is Copilot for sales? Let's go ahead and zoom in there a little bit. This is giving that sales context across the suite of Copilot for M365. So you can see top right there, Outlook, Teams, Word, PowerPoint, OneNote, Excel, all those things. We're going to be able to take CRM data or dynamic sales data and now interact with it inside of those other Office Suite or M365 applications. So that'll allow us to do things like generating a briefing document and preparing for sales calls, those types of things outside of the CRM system directly. Similar vein here, you can kind of see Copilot in customer service here. A lot of the same capabilities have been present in most of the things you've seen today. Again, with that context being directly grounded into the customer service system. So it gives us the ability to do things like conversation summaries that could catch up an agent. Say I'm a tier 3 help desk person and a tier 2 person's bringing me into a case that's been ongoing for 2 weeks. I can quickly hop in here, ask it for a recap on what's been going on in the case, and be brought up to speed much faster. Other things that we can do is things like gaining the context of our knowledge base articles that we actually have and manage inside of our customer service systems. So I can do that both in drafting of emails from the CRM system or through conversations with Copilot. So let's say I'm a company, I have customer service, I have like a chat bot that plugs directly into my CRM system or my customer service system here. I can use that Copilot on the side to ask questions about a product or something like that that I might be chatting with someone else online about. In customer insights, again, a lot of those similar experiences again. On the creation side of things, it's very, very similar to what we just saw in Word, where you've kind of got that little icon, the Copilot icon hanging out. You can click in there and have it draft your marketing content for maybe an email that you need to be sent out. There's some other really cool stuff there on the insights and segments side of things. You can actually, with natural language, build a segment in the tool, and the segment's how you communicate with a subset of users essentially. So you can come in, type in, I want the segment to be all contacts who have requested a quote within the last 90 days. So what's going to happen there, it's going to kind of build out the actual functionality and replace a lot of the button clicking that you have to do in CRM to then again allow you to kind of fine tune and tweak that. Maybe you only want to do that for, you get to that point where you've got all the quotes in the last 90 days. Then you want to segment it out a little further. You can just a couple of button clicks say where the quote owner was a particular salesperson or something like that. And similar natural language functionality also exists on the customer journey side of things. So the journey is, that sequenced set of events that happen within the system that communicate and touch base with our customers. So I could do something like send an email about X, Y, and Z, then follow up with a phone call after 1 week for anyone who has opened that email. That natural language processing is going to go on, and you're going to kind of see, let's see if I can zoom in there. Then you'll see it actually will generate kind of your decision tree that will make up the customer journey. Okay. Last product is Business Central. One of the things you can do here, marketing text suggestions. So it can do things like look at a product's attributes such as color and material and help to kind of better describe something. So if you had an integration with the website and so you wanted to manage all of your marketing text that appears on the website, you could use AI inside of Business Central to generate that marketing text. It's got order line suggestions. So if you're talking with a customer on the phone or you're looking at an email, you can describe the product that you're looking for or like paste in the text from that email and let the system suggest different products that you might want to add based on, whatever you've input there. There's some enhanced bank reconciliation functionality as well. So that allows us to review bank statements that we import into the system and then automatically match the transactions by dates and amounts and descriptions. And then if there's not like a hard, fast, concrete match, the system will actually propose to you some different entries for transactions that don't automatically match. If you've got electronic invoicing going on, you can set up matching rules with the use of Copilot's help. So again, with that natural language capability, you can set up those rules to say, when I get an email, an invoice from this person, tie it to this purchase order, tie it to this vendor, that type of a thing. And then my favorite part of it is that there's a data analysis feature that was rolled out fairly recently on the Business Central side of things. And there's now native functionality to just pop that Copilot open right there and say something like, if I was looking at posted sales invoices, let's say, show me who owes us. And it will very rapidly produce a chart of all of the people that owe us, right? A table of all the outstanding posted sales invoices. You can take that a step further even and continue to ask further questions. So I could then say, show me the month that this was due, and then pivot on that. And then the system will, go pivot the data, turn it on its side and say, for these months, here are the customers that owe us money, and here's the dollar amount. So a lot of awesome functionality into Business Central there as well. Some useful links as we go today, and Katie will drop these into chat for me. The Copilot Lab, that first link that you see there, that is going to be a place where it's kind of like the conglomeration or the aggregate of all of the different prompts that you can use across the different Copilots within Microsoft 365. So it gives you some pretty cool filtering functionality where you can kind of say, oh, I want to be creative here. I want to create something, or I want to understand something. Those types of things kind of filters things down, or sometimes even by different business functions, those types of things. The scenario library that I show you there, that is something where, let's say you're an IT professional and you're saying, man, my sales team wants to use Copilot more. what does that even mean? It's an awesome place to hop in. Or if you're a salesperson, how could I use AI better in my job today? You can go here, you can find those different kind of positional use cases for things, and see how Copilot for, the regular Copilot works, how it could help you integrate with things like Word and Office, those types of things. And then I'm going to harp on it again because I think this is the most important part of interacting with any GPT, effective prompts. Microsoft's got a great course around that stuff within their Learn content there. So be sure to check that out. Wrapping things up here, we'll take questions in just a moment. Licensing, in case you're wondering about it, Copilot for M365. So all the stuff that we saw in Word, PowerPoint, the Teams recap functionality, Outlook functionality, all that stuff is wrapped up and bundled for $30 per user per month, and that's at the commercial rate. There's discounted nonprofit rates available for that. And then on the Dynamics products, if you've ever dealt with Dynamics licensing before, this is kind of always the default answer of it depends. So if you're interested in Dynamics licensing or Copilot for M365, go ahead and reach out to us at info@boyerassociates.com. So we'll pause there. Any final questions? Otherwise, we can cut it short today.
I'm not seeing anything yet. Just give it one more minute and we will see. We do have one comment from Keith that says no questions, but he appreciates the presentation. So I do think that my head is spinning a little bit. I've actually seen this presentation or similar internally a few times now, and my head's still spinning and I'm still learning new stuff. It's pretty amazing what all you can do. So
there's a lot to it and it changes every day.
yeah, no kidding. I'm not seeing any more questions, Matt, so I think we can end it here.
Perfect. Thanks again, everybody.